Hello, and welcome to the next installment of the Health, Happiness, and Harmony Partner Training. Today we're looking at the second in our series on the Body-Mind-Community Connection, or what we call whole brain community. We'll pick up where we left off. Rather than the mind-body connection, the connection we're most interested in is the connection between the individual body-mind and specific local learning communities. We plan to work with existing local organizations and institutions, but we feel our particular vision of community is a cutting-edge, old-school, organic, and ecological view of community that has been lost or is at least threatened within the current bureaucracies, organizations, and institutions of what we call the modern worldview. It will take a few slides to understand why we feel our approach to community is both unique and helpful. What we're calling the modern worldview came to flower in the Enlightenment, and it is a worldview which is scientific, rational, materialistic, measurable, and it optimizes culture around the values of productivity, efficiency, and utility. Only now we're realizing that this worldview also creates a certain optical seesaw. To understand this, think of a worldview exactly like actual vision. As we apply this modern, rational, measurable, scientific worldview to more and more areas of our lives, some very important things come into better and better view. However, some different but also very important things begin to fade and eventually disappear from view. In his essay, The Plight of the Individual in Modern Society, Carl Jung builds the case that scientific education, based on statistical truths and abstract knowledge, can create a completely rational but unreal picture of the world. For example, a family with 2.3 children. This is an intrinsic risk of what we call the modern-only worldview. However, there are other worldviews that show that what becomes more difficult to see or fades from vision as we adopt a more and more exclusively modern worldview. The body and bodily experience of the world. The individual as a quality, not as a number or a quantity. Subjective and even collective experience, such as a spiritual experience or a shared faith tradition. The combination of the above three bullet points is what we call the body-mind. But also within the modern, community, traditions, the local, and history seem to fade from view, as does spirituality, nature, and the natural, art, and aspects of practical daily life not measured in terms of productivity, efficiency, and utility. We see the culture wars as the natural outcome of the encounter of the modern worldview with other worldviews, traditions, cultures, and values. Until maybe the 90s and the continuing emergence of postmodern theory, you didn't hear much about worldviews. Rather than worldviews, people viewed the world through the lens of their particular culture, their time and place. In general, you could say people lived within their culture, which was organized in a tribal-only, traditional-only, or modern-only manner. As the modern-only view asserted itself more and more, we became more and more aware of an individual and social tension now known as the culture wars. We see the culture wars more as a psychological challenge and strain, intrinsic to the fact that now politics, economy, and media are interconnected on a global scale. In no way are we promoting a non-modern, non-scientific, non-rational solution to the culture wars. Just as a modern-only worldview is not whole, neither is a my tribe-only, my tradition-only, or my culture-only worldview adequate. The current time is demanding not that we pick one exclusive view, nor that we try to prohibit elements of culture, nor that we blend and merge everything and pretend differences don't exist. In the same way that two physical eyes are needed to create depth in the visual field, we're learning that the modern view of the world is necessary but not sufficient to see the world with adequate depth. Our approach is to hold science and rationality in one eye but to use the other to bring back to our world the aspects and dimensions the modern crowds out or does not acknowledge. Science in the modern worldview is necessary for the global economy and brings the gifts of productivity, efficiency, and utility to our lives and world. However, the bringing back of the dimensions of the body-mind, subjectivity, art, spirituality, community, nature, and practical daily life brings depth to our lives and world. In our view, the local community creates the terrain or space for an individual inner and outer journey that is logical and informed by science, but that is also spiritual, communal, nature-based, and practical.